Here we go, theory week 2. So here are the topics we talked about in class. First of all, we talked about accidentals. Accidentals are sharps, flats, naturals, which are not found in a key signature. Next, we have the sharp, which raises a note by 1/2 step. We have a flat, which lowers a note by 1/2 step. And then we have a natural, which cancels a sharp or a flat. All of those, again, are called accidentals. Next, we talked about parts of a music staff, and we labeled them. Starting all the way to the left, we have our clef sign, which is found on every piece of music, followed then by a key signature, and then followed by the time signature. Again, the key signature gives us information about what sharps or flats are found in that piece of music, and then the time signature gives us how many beats there are per measure, as well as which note receives one beat. Moving on, we have this vertical line that divides the music into measures, and we call that a bar line. And then all of those notes, the notes and the rests that are found between the bar lines, we call those measures. Moving along, we end a piece of music with what we call a double bar line. A double bar line has 2 lines. The first one is just a little bit thinner. The second one is more in boldface. So those are important features of what you'll find on a music staff. Again, we also reinforce that a music staff is made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces, and we always count them from the bottom up. So here we have line number 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5 up at the top. And then we have our 4 spaces. Space number 1 is at the bottom, space 2, space 3, and space 4. So that's our music staff. And finally, we talked about our repeats. We have our repeat sign, which are the little dots. Also kind of looks like little eyeballs that stare back and forth at each other, which tells us to repeat that bracketed section. So there they are right there. The last piece of information that we talked about in class was the order of sharps. Remember that anytime you see sharps in your key signature, they are always going to be placed in the same order, always. The first sharp in any key is always F sharp, moving on to C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and finally the last sharp in a key signature is B sharp. My trumpet teacher when I was growing up taught me that fat cats go down alleys eating bagels. So it stuck with me to this day. So that's really important that you always remember the order of sharps. The order of sharps is the same no matter what clef we're in. So if you read treble clef, bass clef, alto clef, tenor clef, it doesn't matter. If there's 1 sharp in the key signature, it's always F. If there's 5 sharps in any clef sign, we always go F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, etc. The last thing we talked about in class was finding a major sharp key. So here is the rule once again. We go up 1/2 step from the last sharp in the key signature, and that gives us the key. For instance, if we have 1 sharp in our key, the first sharp, and in this case the only sharp, is F sharp. So we need to go up 1/2 step from F sharp, and that takes us to the key of G major. Let's try another one. If we have 3 sharps in our key, we got to go in order from left to right. F sharp, C sharp, and in this case G sharp is the last sharp. So now we go up a 1/2 step from G sharp, and that takes us to the major key of A major. Let's try another one. This is a little bit of a trickier one. Let's go with 6. There we are. 6 sharps. So in order, we have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, and E sharp. So E sharp enharmonically is the same note as F, meaning E sharp and F sound the same. So if we're going to go up a 1/2 step from E sharp, we can't say F because F is essentially the same thing as E sharp. So up a 1/2 step from E sharp gets us to the key of F sharp. Another common mistake that we see is if we say, what's up a 1/2 step from E sharp, somebody says F flat. But sharps and flats, we don't want to mix them when we're dealing with keys. Same thing with flats. We don't want to use sharps if we're dealing with flat keys. So let's try one last tricky one here. B sharp. So if we have, there we go, if we have 7 sharps in our key, this is all the sharps that we have in our key signature. We have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. So if we take B and raise it by 1/2 step, we can call it B sharp. It also sounds the same as C. We took B and we raised it by 1/2 step. So we have B sharp, which sounds the same as C. So if we go up 1/2 step from B sharp, we get the key of C sharp major. Once again, up a 1/2 step from B sharp is not C flat, but up a 1/2 step from B sharp is the note C sharp. One last little tip, and that would be anytime you are talking about sharps, notes that have been sharped, I encourage you to use the first and the last name when talking about them. For instance, the first sharp in a key is F sharp as opposed to F. And here's where that can be tricky, is if we say, what's the last sharp in your key? And if you say it's F and we go up a 1/2 step from F, that gives us a very different answer than what we'd find normally. For instance, if we have F sharp in our key, we want to know what key we're in, it would be the key of G. But if we don't use F and sharp when we talk about it, then you would go up a 1/2 step from F and get a very different answer. So that's it. Theory week 2. As always, if there's some information that you need more explanation on, feel free to let me know, let Mr. Fretlin know, and we'll get you extra help. All right, see you next time.